Hello, everybody. My name is Antonio Oliveira. I work for Bit5.
Hi, my name is Jörg Molt. I'm Bitcoin co-founder and founder of the Satoshi School.
Hello, my name is Robin Lam. I'm the CEO and founder of BlokTech Network and BlokTech Capital.
My name is Joshua Holmes, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of LightSpeed Hosting in Ohio.
Hello, everyone. My name is Parul Gujral, and I'm the CEO of a company called Snowball Money.
Hi, I'm Bob Rizica. I'm CEO of dRoute, and just quick background, I'm from the networking CDN space.
Awesome, guys. Okay, so got a few questions for you guys. We'll start with the first question. So your first question, and you guys can kind of interchange with the question, why is blockchain, Bitcoin, and mining so disruptive to many business sectors?
So I have the mic, so I'll go first. It's so disruptive because it changes the economics of multiple industries, right? The pure cost of running the industry, the middlemen, the transactions, the management of all the details, and the consistency. It cleans all that up and significantly reduces the pricing, which allows many more businesses to be created, many more tools, consumer products, solutions for companies to use globally.
There was a really interesting example a gentleman once shared with me regarding success being like surfing. And you look at surfing, you have the surfer, the surfboard, and the wave. You can't create waves, you can only ride them. And so if the surfboard is the product, the surfer is the team, the wave is the market opportunity. And as the fourth industrial revolution embarks, perhaps the biggest opportunity for us is to participate as investors, as entrepreneurs, as creators, as individuals who can see around the corner before we get there. And with the advent of digital assets and the innovation moving from fiat to digital, I think this is one of the most exciting times for us to at least pay attention, learn as much as we can, and if you feel confident, participate.
Yeah, so I grew up as an internet kid on the bulletin boards, right? And we all remember when the internet was a fad. And that's what we've heard for 10 years about blockchain and cryptocurrency. And so you get this disruption because people are making a lot of money on keeping everything status quo. And it's slowly being upheaved, and it's disrupting the industry because they can't prevent it. That's the beautiful thing about blockchain, right? You can't technically really stop it. You can try and regulate it, but you can't really stop what's happening. And anytime you have an industry where you have fat cats making a lot of money, and you have something wanting to change that, that's where you create the disruption. And that's what the internet did. Look at all the bookstores that went out of business that thought Amazon would never make it, right? That's what blockchain is doing right now.
You're right about that.
And just agreeing on that, just right now, I was paying security their payroll, and we're doing it through Zelle, which is like Wells Fargo, Chase, stuff like that. I have to add the name, the phone number or email. Sometimes register them, they have to accept a confirmation, and the money was like, oh, receive in 2 or 3 days. It takes a lot of time. We're in 2019, and the technology is still in banking in the 1950s. That doesn't make any sense. The technology should be catching up, and Bitcoins allows us to fasten these transactions instantly sometimes. And I really believe that it provides a lot of transparency and a lot of decentralization, what everyone's moving toward to nowadays.
The disruptive thing on Bitcoin is that Bitcoin is the first world economy coin. It's the first coin user-driven. It's the money in the hand of the people, and you can't confiscate Bitcoin in any way. Even if you stop the mining farms from working by law, people just go back for GPU mining to support the network. So it's unstoppable, and that changed the world and the society in a way you can't imagine now. Think about Microsoft was bringing out the first solution for decentralized identification on the Bitcoin network, not on something else. Because every other coin, every mining is centralized in any way. But Bitcoin is not. And even the harder you go for regulations, the more the people go in the deep, back to the roots and do it by their own, in their own homes. Think about that. Million of people running a network, providing a money to the system they believe in, and exchange this money without exchanging for, say, BitPay or something like that, only by accepting if the regulations go in.
It's hard being the last one. Everybody said all the good stuff.
No, it's okay. Just add on.
It is a blockchain and Bitcoin and everything on that question. I can't remember verbatim. It's everything is, it's times to change. Technology changes, right? We're no longer using coins. Coins switch to check, to paper money, the switch to check, the switch to debit card, credit card, plastic. Now we're going into the digital era. It's about time that we go to digital money. It makes sense. The thought, the rationality behind crypto and digital means of exchange just makes sense. It should be something that needs to take time because the regulations does need to be set in place because it is, in the end of the day, exchange of currency, exchange of a means of value between two parties. So it is something that is disruptive. It does make sense, not just for us, but for the mom and pop shop out there that loses a lot of money to merchant accounts just for a merchant account being a middleman, right? There's a lot of benefits in this industry. We're on the beginning of it. It's 10 years in a row going, and it's still going.
Awesome. So the good thing about being last for one question is that you're first for the next one.
There you go.
Congratulations. So next question regarding Bitcoin's current status. How will new development of technology help Bitcoin's current status? We have the Lightning Network, which helps speed up transactions. What else can we look forward, probably moving forward with that technology?
Well, the beauty of it is, at the end of the day, it's programming, right? You can implement anything you want within the network. Bitcoin or any other currency can always fork in any directions to implement new upgrades. So it's really endless, and you don't have that opportunity in fiat currency. You can't split your money to allow, faster transactions. You can't do that. Digitally is the way to go, and it's where we are today.
Fair enough.
The most impact and what is bringing Bitcoin to top of $1 million in 5 years is the thing about privacy. We are becoming digital slaves through DLT technology and data usage. And Bitcoin is a way to prevent that your data is in the wrong hands. So what we see is liquid. It's a network. You can start exchanging without exchanges. You can go by confidential transactions. You can see how the amount is that we transact. We can use Lightning, for example, for upscaling to 1 million transactions a second. So the technology we provide and we are working on now, and you will see likely in the end of the next years, we can buy and sell Bitcoins without having KYC. And we are working very firm on that, and we are nearby to provide the solutions. Is bringing the value and the money back into the hands of the people, because it is not of policies, it's not of a government social issue, it's not about controlling, it's about privacy. And if you see the most money laundering today is in the banks and in the fiat world, it's not on the cryptocurrency space. And you see if terrorism comes up, do you think a guy from the IS is going by a bicycle, run to the next internet hotspot and call someone, I bombed the bank, give me 100 million in Bitcoin? People go ridiculous about that. It's about the suspicious and the output, and then a blockchain can't hand over a weapon. Think about that if you try to regulate something and go for that thing. You can't stop the younger generations, the millenniums, from given the right of freedom, privacy, and the right to use it. Think about, you got a knife out of your kitchen. You can cut a turkey with that, and you can cut your wife. So whose decision is that? And why do we not should leave the money and the decision how we use it in the hands of the people? For example, we shut down the Silk Road thing. Now we allow people to buy pot. So where are the people jailed in for selling pot in the former times? Are they now free? Think about our society is going in the wrong way, and regulations and ethic is the most common thing. And as long we have this system and we have hacker like me and my team, we will show you that there is no way back. And that's a promise, and that's why we need miners, and miners have to understand that the mining power is in their hands, and they support a network which is moreover ethic and bringing wealthy to an unbanked world than every fintech can do.
So a lot of you guys are going to talk about protocols and the back end of technology, which is great. I really believe that's what's going to change blockchain technology. But for the average person, it's all about user interface. It's something that makes it easy to use, right? The reason why Facebook and all these big companies are very popular because they're easy to use. Your grandmother can use them, right? Anyone can use them. What we need to see is that we need to see better user interface technology, more front-end development of all these blockchain apps or all these other applications, because that's where you see the most adoption. And I can only name maybe like a handful of companies that are actually working on user interface. So I think that really is the forefront, and I think that it's a little bit lacking behind because we need the technology first, and then we make it look pretty. So yeah.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would just add to that, mass adoption too, part of it is getting rid of the fear. So I've been saying, since the first stable coins were introduced, I think stable coins will start to take over the average at-counter payment market, right? Someone doesn't want to hold on to a value that they want to use when they go and travel and pay with that could drop 40% in a couple months. And not that can't happen with currency, it happens with fiat, right? Look at what happened in Venezuela. But stable coins have went from speculative to, we have 16 in the US alone, and they're a great way to take it with you wherever you travel and still use it and pay and not have to worry about the volatility. And I think that speaks to the mass market who, they're not computer nerds, they're not mining, they don't understand any of this industry, but they want to be a part of it and they feel safe holding the stable coin. So I think along with good user interfaces that are easy to use and don't force you to learn something that's complex, I think also having coins that make you feel safe that you're not going to lose your investment, in the course of a couple months is a great way to make it pervasive to the masses.
So we built a company based off of user interface, beautiful user interface, and you could do the Coca-Cola versus Pepsi test, Snowball money versus Coinbase. I'd love to hear your feedback. So why is this space going to be successful? Why is this a great opportunity? Back to that idea of waves. Who here has heard of Moore's Law? Raise your hand if you've heard of Moore's Law. Okay, so about 25% of the people here. So those of you who haven't heard of Moore's Law, it's a law that every 2 years, the cost for microprocessing chips decreases, and what they're able to do increases by double or more. So if you simulate time, technologically, if you think of a kid in Africa who has access to a smartphone. So 4 billion people in this world are unbanked. 1.7 billion of them have smartphones. A kid in Africa has more computing power than the President of the United States did 25 years ago. Think about that. And with technology moving at the rapid pace that it is, the fundamental rails, the plumbing will be built such that this technology can be mass adopted. What people don't talk about is, the digital revolution isn't coming, it's come. 98% of the US dollar is digital. 95% of the euro is digital. And so if money can continue to evolve in a manner such that it's more efficient, right? You can make international remittances in a moment's time, will it not evolve?
Cliffhanger.
I think those are all good points. I'm going to come at it a little bit differently. If you take our business in itself, so we built our global network where we spent over $100 million and integrated in 120 global telcos. But we also had over 35 people that just managed all those relationships, all the payment processing, all the data that flowed through the network. As we've gone to blockchain, you can get rid of all of that, right? You can enable blockchain to seamlessly manage the business, pay the payables, manage the transactions, log the information. Everyone has clarity, and it's easy to scale your business. So as we look at adding more telcos, building a more robust network, it's easy for us with blockchain. We're just one example of a business. So I totally believe it's a user interface. I totally believe in privacy, security, but there's this massive transformation taking place in business where everything's becoming cheaper, simpler to manage, more transparent, and so there's all these additional services rolling out to consumers and enterprises. And to me, that's the massive change.
Awesome. So you guys kind of answered some of the things in the next question. Like Robin said, the banking system is from the 1950s, right? It's outdated. Statistics show that normal methods of trading age out about 30 years. Needless to say, we are way aged out with our current methods of trading, which is currently the US fiat. Now, this next question is regarding Bitcoin and the technologies around it. Why is it appealing? And I want to say, besides the banking access, besides the privacy, what else is it that what else is it that makes people want to gravitate towards this space?
I think for me, it's back to the innovation, the ability to transform industry, the ability to take advantage of this just literal transformation in our lifetime and create all sorts of businesses. And for me, it was, how do you manage all that data on the back end, and how do you make a significant difference in that space?
So let's be honest here. The reason why a majority of people have come to this space is because there were overnight millionaires who were born over the last 10 years. There's a strong correlation of people moving into this market solely based on the price of Bitcoin. Why should people be here? I think that's a better question. You have that case of international remittances such that I can send money to my family in India and it could post within 30 minutes versus having to do an expensive wire transfer, having to wait over the weekend for it to be posted. You have some middlemans, there's the currency rates aren't locked, etc. But I think there's something even more promising and bigger. And right now, the hot topic is Libra. So back to that idea of the unbanked, 4 billion people out of 7.8 billion people in this world don't have a bank account. They don't have an identity. They can't take a loan. They can't start a business. And so out of those people, 1.7 billion of them have smartphones. And typically, with smartphones, people usually have Facebook as well. And so if Libra is able to, and I'm not taking a side for or against Libra, but I'm just talking about what's happening in the world and the opportunity. But if Libra can give these 1.7 billion people an opportunity to now transact with their peers, they create pressure on fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. You have creditors that are coming. You have loans that are coming. And they're changing, they're not expanding a market, they're creating a new market and literally changing the world. And so on the antithesis side of that would be Bitcoin, where it's decentralized. It's not created by one party. It's the best startup in the last 10 years with no founder. It's never raised any money, yet it has multi-billion-dollar valuation. And so if you don't want to go the centralized route, you could go the decentralized route. And I think there's a use case for both, but this wave is happening inevitably. And the best thing that we can do is pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, I would add to that, I think as human beings, we all think we're logical people, but we make most of our decisions based on emotion. I think having something like Bitcoin where you have trust and transparency is enormous, right? And that speaks to our emotional nature of how we view something, right? If you have trust in something, you're more likely to utilize it. We do a lot of international wires, and I try as hard as I can to find vendors that accept cryptocurrency. I've had money in wires get stuck in what I call wire limbo, right? Someone gives me an invoice, and there's a wrong number in the account number, and your money is stuck in another country, and you can't get it out for 2-3 months until they figure out, our bank or their bank, how it was supposed to happen. And that's a nightmare. How do you keep someone's money for months on end because one digit was off somewhere, and now it sits in limbo? That sort of thing happens all the time, right? So how do you trust banks when that kind of stuff is commonplace? And I think Bitcoin and the ability to see that it gets there and the ability to have verification that what transacted took place in 10 minutes is a beautiful thing. And with that trust and transparency, you create value immediately. There's value there. And anyone who's ever had to deal with the sort of banking chaos that goes on immediately recognizes that value and is willing to put weight to back it. So.
I mean, just to add on both of them, I think the main thing that I notice among people who use cryptocurrency is the appealing to them is frustration with the current system right now, with banks, with payment processors. Just myself, literally the other day, I was trying to pay one of my graphic designers in Vietnam through PayPal. Because that's the only way he could do it. They couldn't, the cryptocurrency is banned in Vietnam, whatever. So we tried to do PayPal. I was wiring just like $100 or something because of down payment. And PayPal stopped it and said, it's suspicious activity. I called and everything. They said, we can't do anything. We're going to hold your money for 180 days. I say, that's ridiculous. I always send it in. He's like, we can't do anything about it. Wait, call us back in 180 days. It's the frustration of just regular people, even poor people, not being able to get paid for their work. That's what's frustrating, and that's the appeal for a lot of people. Frustration over time, when there's, and they collect it, and someone organizes them, that leads us to a revolution. It doesn't mean like physically, it could be digitally, and that's what we're facing now. Frustration that's building up over time, and people are not going to take it anymore. And that's something that I noticed personally, so yeah.
So what my first speaker says is all for real, but we can only create that world if we understand that when we have bitcoins in our hand, we are in a self-responsibility. If you go for Coinbase or for all the exchanges and leave your bitcoins there, where are you? You're in the old world. They created a world with coin banks and with all the exchanges, which is regulating your coins, and then you are a fiat. So if you use Bitcoin on an exchange, you have fiat. You haven't got your keys, you haven't got the accessibility. It is necessary that we understand that Bitcoin has its own value if it is in our own pocket, in our own wallet, far away from the exchanges. And if we this understand, we will see that the value of Bitcoin is not $1 million, it's a zero. Because if Bitcoin is a zero, we go for Japan and we will buy all the stuff in the shops because we can do in Japan because it's the first currency. If we understand this world of economy and tokenizing and Bitcoin and creating different cryptocurrencies, we have to understand that we do not have an exchange system to the fiat world, but instead using the exchanges in the coins itself and the tokenizing. So as long as we run for regulators and everything, there is something like that, a misunderstanding. So people think about Libra and say that is a thing, and now they make all the show about regulations. In real, Libra is controlled by the companies. It's not Facebook. It's a Libra Association, and you have PayPal, MasterCard, Visa card, and there you have also Coinbase in there. What is that? It's a regulated world, and we're talking about the regulator will stop Libra? No. It's the first central bank digital currency in a test field, and promoted by a company called Facebook as an advertiser. And that makes the difference in all the systems. And if we are blind to see that we are running with the old systems and giving our freedom back to this regulated exchanges and everything in, how can you talk about that we are decentralized? The decentralization comes in you. You take your coins away, you use the privacy system to do what you want, and then you can fight poverty. What does KYC do to fighting poverty? How can a guy use Facebook's Libra for fighting poverty if he has to done a way of KYC or regulated bank accounts and something like that if he can't provide because he hasn't got a fixed point of address or something like that? How in this world will we ever change the system we are in and we are do not uncomfortable if we elect parties that provide us with democracy and do not know what consent systems are? How can a few people judge over a mass of people, and the question in there is, who is the criminal then? And you have an exit system, you have coins, you have Bitcoin, but if you use it in a way you have done with your money and trust in third parties your keys, and then complain about that the exchange has been robbed, how ridiculous is that? And how can we talk about mining and decentralized mining if we run for the big farms instead of setting up a miner only for fun to just support the network? And how can we understand the whole things if we do not understand that the nodes are the decentralization of the network, not the mining? And how can we participate in that? That's a lot of questions we have to solve for a mass adoption. But we are a little bit far away from that. But I like the idea of the conference they started here because now we are in a discussion, and I'm hopefully that it is growing and more people like him. We build a path for the future of him. And he has to accept and acknowledge that, and then he makes the next step in the next universe of freedom.
So why should people join Bitcoin or any crypto for that matter? It is a new form of technology that is here, just like the internet was in 1996, right? Everybody has an internet in their pockets right now. Most of you may or may not have crypto in your pocket right now. It is a technology that makes sense. What every single one of these gentlemen here today spoke about, there are many scenarios that it could work for many of you. Each one of us have a different encounter of how crypto benefits our lifestyle, our business, or the ones around us. It's just the millennials, the millennial era will be the ones who benefit the most from this. Unfortunately, there's a lot of lack of education throughout the world. There are studies that says about 50% of the United States now knows what Bitcoin is, but I'm pretty sure that those studies were made in areas that they can walk down the street and bump into people to ask those questions, right? It's something that will take time to be further easy to explain to the masses, but it is a technology that it makes sense, because at the end of the day, if I want to purchase some miners from our fellow vendors here across the world, we can have those funds released in 30 minutes and have a transaction, sped up. We are in a world that we are being we're not being digressed, but we're being held back from further achievements because there's a lot of financial barriers that we must go through to have paper trail that, to ensure that everything is legal, that everything is correct, that the money can be accounted for. It's a new tech, it's very young. It is 10 years in, and it is disrupting, right? When you have over $200 billion in a market cap for a single cryptocurrency, I mean, it's just something that it tells you that there's a lot of interest, because that money wouldn't be there if there wasn't. It's just simple. The technologies that are being advanced, new companies that come up with creative ways on how to implement crypto, on how to keep the data secure, companies that are switching to blockchain security to make sure they're no longer get hacked or breached in. There are so many things. Again, it's very difficult to, in a very short panel, be able to explain the reach that cryptocurrency can have throughout the world.
That is very true. I think that's what we're seeing with Libra right now. Everyone's going crazy for it. So this next question, this would be for beginners. Question for beginners, anyone who's interested in getting started into this space. What are the most common misconceptions that you see? Maybe tips of advice I'd give to someone.
Well, majority of the people that try to recommend Bitcoin for somebody else, right? I mean, it's like saying none of us are in FAs and we're giving financial advice to a lot of people. Say buy it. That is the biggest thing. For any beginners that wants to step into the space, the best thing that you could do physically is to walk the walk, right? Go into any exchange of your choice, go to Coinbase, wherever you want, purchase $5 of Bitcoin, understand how the process works, and you see that it's just as easy as transferring money through Venmo or Pay or any other, Cash App or any one of these applications. It's a simple application, simple interfaces between multiple different companies that allows you to transfer means from, peer to peer for exchanges of goods or services. It's the base of fiat, but it's made digitally. It's something that will catch up, especially with the millennials. I personally know a lot of younger friends. I'm the youngest one in here, maybe. A lot of us, I don't even walk with a wallet anymore. Everything, we just walk with a phone. We all have our cell phones, and we just, Apple Pay, tap this, tap that. Everything is digital, and we're going on that generation of just making things more efficient, things more easy to explain. With a crypto, you're not going to get, you know that nobody's going to, in essence, hack you or steal your money unless if they have access to your pool or to your wallet. It's, for beginners, again, my best recommendation is walk the walk. Just jump in there, get your hands dirty, understand how it works before you try to fully understand the mechanics and the mathematics behind of it, because that will drive you crazy. You will get, you're just going to be like, oh, I don't want to do it.
So the misconception in the whole thing is greediness is not following education. So for example, I go for Zimbabwe and give a poor guy a mobile phone and say you can access Bitcoins and show him how. He's not asking how it's working, he's just trying to do it. Instead of, we discuss here the whole thing, how it works, that accepting that it is working. That's the first misconception. The second misconception is that look at all the scams. You're talking to people praying to your decentralized world and self-responsibility, even you do not know what self-responsibility is, because your parents always teaching you to get a job. Your parents said, this is wrong, this is right, and they let the decision out of your hands. Now you are back to get a decision and you are not able to take a decision because lack of knowledge. So when I started with the school in 2010 and we introduced Bitcoin to Japan, to the government and everything, they were barely listening. Now they want to listen, and now we have a lot of false information in there. You can pick out 100 people from this crowd here, and everyone is telling you different about what he thinking mining is. So the misconception is we have to come out with one cryptocurrency, for example, Bitcoin, because that's the mass adoption, okay? We have to come out with one blockchain technology is working. Like Ford was saying, you can have this car in every color, it must be black, right? So if we invented this technology to the mass adoption, we can separate it in 1,000 blockchains and 1,000 pieces of different coins. But first, we have to show out we have one concept that's working for all, and everyone is easily coming in and coming out. As long as we're not on the same road and we diversificate in the beginning, some guy is coming and says, come back if it is running. And no one knows which is the right system and the retard system, and we have all the scams in there. That's what the misconception is about at the moment, but hopefully it is getting better.
So, one of the biggest misconceptions that people approach me about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, it's like, it's bad. It's for money laundering. And the reason why people think this is, number one, because someone told them. Say, someone told me either on the news, government, or someone I know, or someone I know, it's bad. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. That's not my opinion to say. But why would it be used for money laundering? It's like the most transparent thing you can do if you want to get caught for doing drugs or anything like that, right? Just literally last month, my friend who works for a big law firm, they're working with the FBI, they busted down someone who was money laundering through Bitcoin. They confiscated around $5 million worth in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are a really bad way to launder money. So it's a very common misconception. If you want to launder money, the best way to do it is through cash. And the number one, based on facts on the USA, the CIA, is the US dollar. It is the most laundered currency. But I'm not going to get into that, but that's a misconception that people have. It's for laundering, and it's a really bad way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, so with beginners, it's difficult, right? So at least here in the States, no matter what news channel you're watching, now that the price is back up, right, they're talking about Bitcoin. These anchors have no idea what any of this stuff is most of the time, right? They have talking notes. Most of their information's incorrect, or they're fear-mongering, right? So, we do a lot of work in Northeast Ohio, and a lot of companies will come to us that want to get set up to accept Bitcoin, right? Which they should. Like, I'd love to see every company in Northeast Ohio accepting some form of cryptocurrency. But, the first thing I have to do is say, you know what, before we even talk about that, let's sit down and actually talk about what blockchain is, what crypto is, and how all this works. Because I guarantee right now, it's still very mystic to you. And there's a lot of things you don't understand, which is why, A, you've never even thought about doing it until now, and someone probably prodded you to start accepting it. But the problem is you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble, right? Like, if you don't know what you're doing, you really should be educated first. And part of that's getting rid of misconceptions, and part of it's understanding how to use the technology. And if we could do a better job of getting some of these incorrect misconceptions out of the market, that'd be huge. But, we don't control the news stations, right? We don't control what their eyes and ears hear and see. But that's what we run into, right? Beginners, for me, the first thing I have to do is understand, what do you think this is? How do you think this works? And then understand that they don't really know, and you have to correct that. And then you can move on from there. Because otherwise, one person who has a horrible experience in the crypto world is going to tell 10 people, right? And so if you can get them on the right track, they become an advocate versus an adversary. And so that's usually my first step with beginners.
So I'm going to be the black sheep here. And I'm going to start my statement with this and anything that I'm saying is not investment advice. Now that we got the disclosure out there. I disagree with the first gentleman who said that none of us are financial advisors. Snowball Money is an internet-registered investment advisor and a regulated entity. So let's talk about the facts. Teaching people about cryptocurrencies, about the protocols. So you have Coinbase, who's airdropping $100 million all around the world to teach people about Stellar's white paper and what's significant about the protocol. I strongly disagree with that strategy because, frankly, people don't care. If you look at Who's investing in a similar asset class? Right? Stocks. 41% of America is investing in stocks. How are majority of people investing in stocks? Through an ETF, through an index, through a mutual fund, through their 401k. What does that mean? They don't care about Amazon's earnings. They don't care about Google's newest product. They just want exposure to an asset class that they think is going to appreciate. Now, when it comes to digital assets, history has told us that it is extremely volatile. So my non-investment advice is if you do enter this space, only invest what you're willing to throw into a burning fire, because it's very risky, number one. Number two is, say you break your leg today and it's bleeding, there's blood everywhere. What do? Do you go on Google and just try to fix your leg and Google search how to fix it? No, you go to a doctor. You go to the emergency room. The doctor has expertise. They have resources. They have information. They have practice. So why would you do that with your finances, right? And so I would go to a financial advisor or some sort of platform that allows you to invest in a professionally curated portfolio, one that rebalances, one that doesn't require you to sign up for multiple exchanges if you want to have a diversified portfolio, one that doesn't require you to take custody of your assets on hardware wallets where you almost never have business continuity or disaster recovery. So we built Snowball to give you exposure to a diversified portfolio of crypto assets. And there's a number of other platforms out there as well, like Abra, that allow you to do this. And so if you want exposure, only invest a minimal amount. Make sure that money is not stored on an exchange, because exchanges get hacked, but stored on a custodian or some sort of bank. And only invest what you're willing to lose.
So I'm going to take a little bit different tact. I think the biggest misconception is people don't understand in general what blockchain is, what blockchain technology is. I think that there's a lot of people at the beginning of this that are focused on the investment side. But really, if you ask people what's the point of blockchain, they have no idea. And it's not just about, I have some Bitcoin and it went up in value. It's how does it make people's lives better, right? Someone said it earlier, how does it affect people in Africa? How does it affect people around the globe, allow them to change their lives, allow them to live better lives? You sort of have to look around the room and say, well, why are we all here? It clearly can't just be for money, right? Because that would get old pretty fast, and you could do a lot of other things for money. I think we're here because we think, again, the technology is transformative. We think we can make a difference, and actually we think not only can we make money in this industry, but we can change the world with the industry. And the main problem is general consumers, general people around the globe don't understand what it does, don't understand that it'll bring them services, don't understand how it will make their lives better. I think we all need to focus on that. And I was just in China last week, and it was really funny. I was here with one of my associates. I couldn't spend my currency anywhere. They don't take currency, right? It's all digital. I mean, literally everything. I had to go up to someone and have them pay for my food because I couldn't buy it otherwise. And then the last thing is that your platform, Snowball, would run better if it was connected to dRoute's network. That's all.
I love it.
All right, so one more question for you guys, right? So what does the future hold not only for businesses, but also the public consumer regarding this space?
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of answers to that. I'm going to focus in on just one, only because it's something that I'm passionate about. I know I said it earlier, I'm a big fan of stablecoins, right? So we have a project that's happening in Mexico right now for a stablecoin for the peso finally. And when you start to look at the socioeconomic diversity that happens in Mexico, you find a lot of people who are unbanked. You find a lot of people who, you can't, if you give you a check, they don't even have a card to go to a bank. They can't do anything with it. It's not real to them, right? When I look at the future of what cryptocurrency does for people in those populations, you realize, just like you said, they have a smartphone, right? So they have access. They have access to the internet. And so, this is a solution to allow the woes of people who can't be part of traditional banking system or don't trust it, or the systems are state ran, and the list goes on, right? There's a lot of problems with the banking industry. For me, of all the technological advances I want to see in the next 10 years out of cryptocurrency, is I want to start to see those people taken care of in a way where their money is safe and they have control of it of their own, and their future of their finances is not in jeopardy because of large conglomerates, that run their country or cities or wherever they're at, and they're finally in financial, to an extent, able to control their financial freedom and where they're going to go in their own money, which is a huge paradigm shift. 2019, how in the world are we not already there? But that's where we're at still. We're still fighting that battle.
That way we don't do that and come back, right?
It's okay, whichever one of you guys want to speak.
So I look at innovation. I think a really good example of innovation in this space, blockchain, mining, cryptocurrencies, et cetera. A good comparison is a cell phone. Who here remembers the first cell phone, AKA the mobile brick? It was massive. It was a dinosaur. And no one in their right mind thought it would hit mass adoption if you think of the biggest analysts and critics. Everywhere you went, there was 10 payphones just waiting for you with free collect calls. And so now fast forward to the future, and we have Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and email, etc., that is literally available in your pocket. Everything in your pocket at some point, if it's not on your cell phone, will no longer be on your pocket, likely. And so when the cell phone was initially invented, were we able to forecast how all of these mobile applications and how we use these cell phones would change the world, the internet? So I think when it comes to this space that we're talking about, or the fourth industrial revolution, it's a very similar experience. I think that we're beginning to fathom what network effects are going to be created as the technology continues to innovate. I'm really excited to see how it does.
So I'm not going to talk about services for consumers, but I think the big change I hope that we see is, if you look through history, forever people around the globe have been taken advantage of, right? They lose their land when new governments come in, their currencies get devalued, they lose right to other assets. That's happened consistently around the globe. And one of the huge things I think we will see with blockchain and cryptocurrency is that will start to change in a way that governments can't force the change, right? And I think that will be fantastic if we see that.
I think the future of this industry in general depends on community. So a lot of us got introduced to cryptocurrency blockchain is through someone you know, right? Because that's how you build trust. A lot of them just introduce. So I met a lot of the speakers here through just people we know or meeting in person. And I think that's what we need. I noticed that the cryptocurrency community, blockchain community, is one of the friendliest communities out there. It's not as much cutthroat as the other communities, all the other conventions I go to. We're very open about, even things are listed on a white paper for public to read, you know what I mean? But I think community is the future. But what I really want to see in the future, the near future, is that my grandma can go to Starbucks and pay with cryptocurrency and she won't have a problem. That's what I hope in the future be. Just the average person can use cryptocurrency without a problem at all.
For businesses, it's a big opportunity for small businesses. And the thing is, our world is a big pyramid scam of fiat. So a few companies dictating who will support the companies and who is earning money. With cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and you can't deny that Bitcoin is unstoppable, and you will be able to create a business with a foreigner somewhere in the world who is willing to pay you in your cryptocurrencies in exchange for you in a different place on the earth. So you can create businesses, global businesses, from your home computer, from your each home, without renting an office, without having thousands of people behind. And think about how we use electricity in these times. We have so many alternatives which are prevented by the big players and the central banks that we can't access them because they want to lead us. So the freedom in here is, and it's not the regulations, it's the consensus. So Bitcoin usage is a self-driven system by a network which is creating a consensus. That means even if you want to shut down someone's account, you can't, because you have not the minority of the people running that network to do that. So in the effect, you are free. So the freedom of yourself is starting when you leave the Coinbases, when you leave all the banking systems and an exchanging system. The next thing here to understand is this: Bitcoin is disruptive in a way with the mining and everything, that you are totally free to create your business, even if a company is coming and say, I don't know like what you do. And in former times, they stopped you from funding. Now you can fund yourself believing in a Bitcoin thing, and as more people you bring in from the unbanked world, the value of people is going high. I rather prefer to do business with 1 million unbanked people and creating a Bitcoin price of $1 million than going for free hedge funds, getting money from them, and after that they cut me in slices and get away the best pieces and sell it out on the stock market. So the stock market is a whole bubble. So when you talk about bubbles in cryptocurrencies, it's because we have future contracts. What you see the up and down and the volatility is not Bitcoin itself, it's two prices. Every time someone is paying something in Japan with Bitcoins without exchanging behind, and that's what they're doing. They create real assets and value behind Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the end of the assets, as you know. Bitcoin is the road to lead you in a free asset, which is custody services in itself, and you regulate your custody, not anyone else. So what we see for businesses is here, and the opportunity as we see in Japan now, you can create your own custody services and management services and company services in your own banking system and in your own company, and raising money and value behind, and stabilize your company without having a credit line. The next thing, deflationary, is killing debts. We are overvalued by debts. Think about Lyft. Lyft raised $2 billion by making 950 million debts. So the debt bubble is exploding, and what happens is now we see the future contracts and everything on top, and the whole lies in the blockchain. We doesn't see blockchain today because they didn't understand DLT from the beginning and how it works in enterprise systems. So we see a next lie is bursting, and if the economy crisis coming in 2020, the burst of the fintech bubble, which lies us in the blockchain technology today, is also bursting. We have a triple come down than from that what we have seen in 2008. So then you are lucky to be in Bitcoin, because that is rising to $1 million. So this is what the companies can save their assets if they got the understanding to have some holdings in Bitcoins for that time and not dumping the market or something like that. Because the value of Bitcoin is slowly growing by the user acceptance, that I would say the real value of Bitcoin is now in goods by, I always say, stabilized at around $7,000. But the rest you see is the trading bubble, as we know from the stock markets. And Bitcoin will teach you one day that you have to be in there, because Bitcoin is not judging everyone for doing something. And that's the real asset and the real value for the small businesses to come out with ideas which are not controlled.
The future looks promising, as many Fortune 500 companies and financial institutions are implementing crypto in some form within their business model and developing a lot of very creative things around us. In the next 5-10 years, I believe that we will see many revolutionary things just emerging from every corner, from every different sector, not just within the crypto sector alone, but other sectors that are implementing this technology within their, their spectrum. So it's exciting, and I look forward, and I bet everybody looks forward to see how this will work.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Give it up for our wonderful panelists.